Welcome back to the channel. My people, listen very carefully. Something shocking is happening right now. And a video clip is shaking the whole of Nigeria. For years, our leaders have told us that we are one Nigeria. They preach unity, they preach peace, and they tell us the Igbo must never think of leaving. But what if I told you that even people from the north are now admitted the bitter truth, that Nigeria is afraid of the southeast? In this clip, an Hausa man said something that many northern elites will never dare to say in public. His words expose everything about why the Igbo are never trusted with power and why Biafra is always treated like a threat. Stay with me till the end of this video, because what he revealed will change the way you look at Nigeria forever.
What is our problem with the Igbos? We come and say one Nigeria, one Nigeria. Now they change the national anthem and brought the old one to talk about we being together. But it's all a lie. It's all lip and mouth service. I don't know what is our problem. Why are we afraid of the people from the southeast? Then we say we are one Nigeria. When they are now saying they want to leave Nigeria so that they can have Biafra, we fight it. If we know they are not important, why are we not letting them go? Now when it comes to power, we don't trust them. All of us northerners must team up behind Obi. We have suffered under our own so-called northerners.
You just heard it with your own ears. This is not propaganda. This is not a rumor. A northern man himself has admitted why Nigeria is scared of the southeast, why the Igbo are treated as outsiders, and why every time the word Biafra is mentioned, the government trembles. But my people, this is just the beginning. In the next 10 powerful points, I will break down the hidden meaning behind his words and why this single clip has exposed the biggest secret about Nigeria unities. Watch carefully till the end, because every segment will open your eyes to the truth. The fear of the southeast. Let us start with the most important question. Why is Nigeria afraid of the Igbo? Nigeria does not fear the southeast because the people are weak. No, it is the opposite. Nigeria fear the Igbo because they are strong, determined, and unstoppable when it comes to survival. Look around you. Anywhere in Nigeria, you will see Igbo men and women building businesses, running industries, and creating opportunities, even in places where others say life is impossible. From Lagos to Kano, from Abuja to Port Harcourt, the story is the same. The Igbo rise wherever they are planted. This kind of resilience is not ordinary, and that is exactly what frightens the Nigeria establishment. They know that if the Igbo are given free hands, they will outshine every other region. They know that if the Igbo are not caged, the balance of power will shift forever. And so, what do? They turn their strength into a reason for suspicions. They say the Igbo are too ambitious, too restless, or not too trustworthy. But in truth, it is not distrust. It is fear of competition. If they are not important, let them go. The Hausa man asks a very powerful question. If the Igbo are not important, why fighting them when they say they want Biafra? That single question alone is enough to shake the foundations of Nigeria unity. Think about it. When a group say they want to leave, the normal response should be, if you think life will be better on your own, go ahead. But in Nigeria, the opposite happens. The moment the word Biafra is mentioned, soldiers are deployed, propaganda machines are switched on, and violence is unleashed. Why? Because Nigeria knows that losing the Igbo means losing the lifeline of the economy. The industry in Aba the technology ops in Enugu, the traders in Onitsha, the transporters everywhere. These are the engines that keep Nigeria moving. Without the Igbo, Nigeria will collapse like a pack of cards. That is why they hold on tight, not because they love the Southeast, but because they cannot survive without it. This is the bitter truth. Nigeria wants the wealth, talent, and energy of the Igbo, but refuse to give them dignity, equality, or leadership. They want the resources, but not the freedom. That is why the call for Biafra always shake Abuja to its roots. The trust problem. In the clip, the man admitted, when it comes to power, we don't trust them. But let us pause and ask, what exactly does trust mean in this context? It is not about morality. It is not about competency, because history shows us that Igbo leaders are capable, visionary, and courageous. So, what is this trust problem really about? It is about the goals of the Civil War. Since 1970, the Nigeria political system has been deliberately designed to keep the Igbo away from the highest seat of power. Every time an Igbo politician rises, the whisper begins. Can we trust him? Will he not divide Nigeria? Will he not favor his people? But ask yourself, isn't this the same Nigeria that trusts other regions, even when their leaders have failed woefully? The North has ruled for decades, yet poverty and insecurity are worse in their own land. The West has had its turn, yet corruption thrives. So why is trust only a problem when the Igbo are involved? The truth is simple. Trust is just a code word for fear. They fear that an Igbo leader will expose the injustice of the system. They fear that an Igbo president will finally balance the scales of history. And that is why, decade after decade, the Southeast is excluded from the presidency. Why Northerners team up against the Igbo? For decades, our political strategy has been repeated in Nigeria. When it comes to power, Northerners will set aside their differences and team up against the Igbo. This is exactly what the Hausa man was eating at, even when Northerners complain that their leaders have betrayed them. Even when they admit they are suffering under Northerner rule, when it comes to supporting an Igbo candidate, they suddenly unite against him. This is not accidental. It is a calculated system of survival. The elites in the North understand that once the Igbo rise to power, the monopoly of politics will end. So, to protect themselves, they push the narrative that the Igbo cannot be trusted. And many ordinary Northerners, who are themselves victims of bad leadership, are misled into believing this lie. But here is the contradiction. If Northerner leaders have failed their own people, then why not give the Igbo a chance? Why continue to suffer under the same recycle system? That is the hypocrisy the Hausa exposed. It shows that Nigeria unity is not built on fairness or equality. It is built on suspicion and fear of the Southeast. The Obi factor. When the Hausa said all Northerners must team up with Obi because they suffer under their own, it was a statement full of pain and irony. Peter Obi, an Igbo man, became a symbol of hope, not just for the Southeast, but also for millions of Northerners who were tired of being deceived by their leaders. During the 2023 election, we saw something that shocked the old political order for the first time. Young people across Nigeria, including the North, came together to rally behind an Igbo candidate. The Hausa man was reflect that reality, that even Northerners now see that their suffering is not caused by the Igbo, but by the same politicians who have ruled them for decades. But what happened? The old system kicked in. The propaganda machine started spinning. Don't trust the Igbo. Don't vote Obi. He is not one of us. And once again, tribal fear trump over national interests. The Obi factor shows us that change is possible, but it also reminds us of the deep wars or suspicions that still divide Nigeria. The Hausa man was telling these people the truth, but with this listing, one Nigeria or one lie. The biggest question this video raises is this: are we truly one Nigeria, or are we living one big lie? For over 60 years, politicians have forced the slogan one Nigeria into our ears. They sing it in schools, they shout it in rallies, and they print it in newspapers. But the reality is different. If we are one Nigeria, why is it that the Igbo are treated as outsiders? Why is it that when it is time for the presidency, suddenly they become untrustworthy? Why is it that their businesses are destroyed during crisis, their homes attacked, and their voices silenced? One Nigeria should mean equality, fairness, and justice, but in practice, it has become a slogan used to silence the Southeast. The Hausa man honestly exposed the truth that the Igbo are not really seen as equal partners in the union. They are kept inside Nigeria because of their value, but never given the respect they deserve. That is why many say one Nigeria is nothing but one lie. Until equality is practiced, the walls are empty. The hidden importance of Biafra. Every time Biafra is mentioned, the government reacts like someone has been stung by a scorpion. Why? Because Biafra is not just about land. It is about freedom. It is about the right of a people to decide their future. And that is the greatest fear of Nigeria ruler. The Hausa man's words remind us that Nigeria cannot let the Igbo go because they know what will happen. If Biafra rise again, the world will see a nation full of talent, industry, and innovation. The Igbo will build their land the same way they have built every corner of Nigeria, and Nigeria will be left exposed, weak, divided, and empty without them. That is why every protest is crushed, every voice silenced, every movement branded as terrorism. It is not because the government wants unity. It is because they want control. They know the importance of Biafra, but they will never admit it openly. This clip, however, reveals the secret they are hiding. That Biafra is the biggest fear of Nigeria's rulers. The suffering of Northerners. One part of the Hausa man's statement deserves deep reflection. He said Northerners too have suffered under their so-called leaders. This is a reality that cannot be denied. Look at the North today. Terrorism, bandits, poverty, unemployment. Villages are being burned. People kidnapped daily. Farmers chased away from their lands. Yet, these are the same regions that have produced presidents for decades. Think about it. If leadership is about where you come from, then why has the North not prospered after ruling Nigeria for so long? The answer is clear. The elites only care about themselves. They use religion and tribe to control the ordinary Northerners. But in truth, they don't care whether their people live or die. This is why the Hausa man voice is so powerful. He is not speaking like the politicians. He is speaking like an ordinary person who is tired of the lies. He knows the North is bleeding, and he knows the Igbo are not the enemy. The real enemy is the corrupt elites who have failed everyone. The truth they don't want you to hear. Why is this clip going viral? Because it is the kind of truth that the system does not want you to hear. For years, the Nigerian government has controlled the narrative. They say the Igbo are the troublesome. They say they cannot be trusted. They say they must be kept down. But now, a northerner voice is admitting that this all fear, no facts. This is dangerous to the system because once ordinary people hear the truth, they start to question everything. They begin to ask, why can't we let the Igbo go if we don't need them? Why do we fear them in power? Why are we suffering under leaders who look like us? The elites cannot afford these questions because once the people start thinking, the game is over. That is why voices like this, Hausa man, are often silenced. But with the social media, the truth is now out in the open, and no amount of propaganda can stop it. What this means for the future? Finally, let us talk about the future. What does this viral clip mean? For Nigeria, it means the truth can no longer be hidden. Even Northerners are now admitting openly that Nigeria fears the Igbo. The game is up. The mask is falling. For the Southeast, this should be a moment of awakening. It is time to understand the power you hold. If even your so-called enemies can admit your importance, then never again you should underestimate yourself. The future of Nigeria may be uncertain, but one thing is sure: the Igbo hold the key, whether it is in politics, businesses, or the struggle for freedom. Their voice cannot be silenced forever. This Hausa man statement is not just an opinion, it is a prophecy. It is a reminder that the system is scared because they know the truth. And the truth is this: the Southeast is the heart of Nigeria, and without it, the country cannot survive. My people, you have seen it and you have heard it. A northerner man himself has confirmed everything that the Southeast has been shouting for years. Nigeria is afraid of the Igbo, and that is why they keep suppressing Biafra. But the truth cannot be hidden forever. If you believe this message must be heard by every Nigerian, then don't just watch and go. Smash that like button, drop your comment below, and share this video until every corner of Nigeria see the truth. And if you want more explosive analysis like this, subscribe and turn on notifications, because the truth must not be silenced.